recently invested $140 to demo the approved United Methodist confirmation curriculum Confirm. And as a pastor, I've got to be honest, I was profoundly disappointed. Like, really disappointed in this curriculum. My time today is going to be to evaluate this curriculum against my congregation's mission and our need that I've been working on the last 4 years here to build biblical literacy. My congregation has a low biblical literacy, and that extends from our older members straight down to our youngest little ones. And so my goal here the last 4 years was to build a more steady biblical understanding of the story, the biblical narrative. So the confirmation class has three blocks to our foundation. One, a solid overview of the biblical narrative. Two, an introduction to the United Methodist Church, our history and our theology, and then finally, telling the story, engaging in service and really kind of stressing their why Jesus story. So do they understand the biblical story? Do they understand why and who we are as the United Methodist Church and our core theology? And can they, through engaging in outward ministry, articulate their why Jesus story to others? The curriculum doesn't meet these goals, nor does it reflect the realities of my congregation or many small churches congregations these days, which have very few children within them, and in many cases, very few adults who are biblically literate. It is built for a church that no longer exists. So let's run through and analyze this. From the standpoint of the mission, our mission is to be the blessing place and to be an outwardly facing congregation. This curriculum is not a fit. The focus is inward and on small group discussion. It doesn't focus on pushing students out to a world that needs Christ right now. Basic biblical instruction is critical. And this curriculum doesn't fit that. It's a poor fit. It assumes prior biblical knowledge, focuses on reflect and explore without providing the necessary narrative foundation, and it assumes that the instructor has adequate biblical preparation to teach the class. And because my congregation has a low congregational biblical literacy, students are entering with an inadequate Sunday school background because our church hasn't really had Sunday school consistently until the last few years. Now, my class currently has 3 boys, all 3 of whom are neurodivergent with varying levels of ADHD and autism. This curriculum is a very poor fit for that. It relies on a 4-part structure: connect, explore, reflect, and create. And our teachers don't have theological training. I do, but there's no guarantee that this church will always have a seminary trained theologian as their pastor. A lot of churches in the Minnesota Annual Conference don't even have trained clergy. They have certified lay ministers who may or may not understand that. Plus, these students come from homes that have varying theological traditions. Many of my congregants are converts to the Methodist tradition and don't really understand our tradition very well at all. And that's one of the things I've been working on the last 4 years. The DVD content does not account for short attention spans, and the next activity relies heavily on the parents, and it's just not going to work. And this will lead to non-enforcement. Because one of the things I learned from a project that I did within the school district itself was the fact that parents don't help their students with their homework because they're not adequately prepared educationally to do that. So why would we assume the same thing with their biblical knowledge? Our teachers need easy to use and comprehensive support, right? This this curriculum provides a rote script, but no theological preparation for the leader. It does not designate a Bible version, which complicates access for students. We use the Common English Bible for students here at Hillcrest specifically because we want all of our students from Sunday school up now to have a similar biblical book that they're using. As a matter of fact, as adults who are going to be reading come into my office and they're looking to understand what they're about to read, often I will provide them a copy of the student Bible as well. We also read from the Common English Bible during worship. So the students will not only hear it in their classroom and read it in the classroom, they will also hear it in worship when they attend. That's an issue with a lot of our young families. They rarely attend church, and when they do, often they're attending online. I found no clear foundation, paper, or statement of goal that complements our mission of being a blessing. And the materials feel more like busy work rather than supporting the deep biblical learning that these students need and deserve. The curriculum views teaching as the leader reading a script. That is not what teaching is. The best teachers simply tell the story. That is what they do. And the create section, where students teach back, yeah, it's a good element, but it's dependent upon a weak explore section, which they're supposed to be exploring. But if the teacher's not adequately prepared with a good foundation of biblical knowledge and the students aren't prepared, how are they going to piece together the history and the tradition of the church within that biblical tradition? The main focus of the United Methodist Church in our quadrilateral is Scripture, and this is missing that. While the content on the Trinity and the church is adequate, is good, it is presented a-denominationally. So what is missed is an opportunity for students to be grounded in our specific United Methodist tradition, which bugs me. And while I cannot speak to the racial inclusiveness and diversity of the materials broadly, simply the failure of it to account for neurodivergence and low biblical literacy makes it practically exclusive to the reality of many small modern congregations. And it doesn't account for the fact that our connection has more diversity than just here in the U.S. This curriculum is really U.S. centered, and I thought, based on our last general conference, we were moving away from that. So let's talk about the bottom line. Does this curriculum move the ball forward for Hillcrest United Methodist Church? No. While it is evangelical, it is not evangelical focused on telling the story of God and pointing us forward. Confirm is designed for a highly literate congregation with well-trained teachers and an active, theologically aligned home life. This is not my church, and this is probably not many churches at all, particularly smaller churches that are 50 members or less who are older. We cannot afford to do remedial work after confirmation. That's just the long and the short of it. As a matter of fact, we've recently canceled our upcoming confirmation class because after analysis we realized that our middle schoolers are not adequately prepared theologically to handle this. And so we've canceled it to ensure that our kids have a good biblical foundation first. So while the $140 investment was a research cost, I tried teaching a couple lessons out of it to the boys that just ended in misery and failure. I don't feel that this is a good curriculum. I do not recommend this curriculum at all. Um, Congregations need to be doing the remedial work of building a biblical foundation. They need to be doing the biblical work of building an outwardly focused, more evangelically oriented congregation so that we can regrow our faith and our congregations again. So that's kind of where I'm at. Um, I'm not happy with this, and that is why that's why I'm writing as my project this semester my own curriculum. This is inadequate. So that's all I have for this week. Have a great day, and thank you.